shine the light on Troy, please.
You don't have to shine no light on me, as long as we smile.
You are shining on Troy.
Smile though your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. You can smile through your pain. Smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through. You light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you'll just smile. Time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll see that life is still worthwhile if you just Thank you, Troy. From the hit, buddy. Shoot from the hit today.
You're back.
So our speaker today, he's just an incredible man. He's been doing the work that we do for many years, providing transformational training to people where they embrace their divine spirit and who they are. His workshops are incredible. I know many people that have attended them and a part of some of this stuff before. We're just grateful to have him here. Our speaker today, Gary Acevedo.
Well, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression, I thought I'd start off by doing my impression of the vulture from the Bugs Bunny cartoon. You're a rabbit. So, who am I? Well, I've had a lot of success basically helping people get out of their own way. Because really the worst thing you can say about most people is that they're just really clever at getting in their own way. And because of that, I assist people in showing up and shining and being the gift that they came to be. And my secret weapon, which I show people in the workshops, is how to look through the eyes of Christ-like love. So that's really the context for all my workshops. And I want you to know the reason I'm excited to be here today is because when I do workshops for AT&T or companies, I don't get to say the eyes of Christ-like love. Today I get to talk about it all through the talk and in the workshop.
Yeah.
So over the years, I've coached real estate people who were earning over $10,000 a month, and within 24 sessions, I had them up to increasing their sales by 40 to 60% a month. And I've taken millionaires from $1 million a year to 7, 8 million a year. But one of my favorite success stories was Burt Bunnell, who had an invention that saved premature babies' lives. And he'd worked, years and put everything he had into it. And one day, his president upset one of the people from a regulatory agency, so he got a nasty letter saying, you're going to meet on this day at this hour with 5 agents, and we're going to determine whether or not your company gets to exist. So he's nervous. This is his life's work. And his wife had just been through my relationships course, which we'll talk a lot more about later. And in that workshop, there's a skill we teach called disarming verbal attackers. But in my organization, people call it how to melt your favorite jerk. Because when people are attacking you verbally, whether it's your teenager or your coworker or whoever, they look like verbal monsters. But when you use certain skills that work with the don't want theater and the do want theater, you actually can, within a matter of minutes, melt them. And by the way, they don't get to vote. And turn that verbal monster into a teddy bear. So right after the relationships course, they got into a tiff, husband and wife, and she used this skill on him. And when he walked away, he went, whoa, 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 what did you just do to me? And she goes, well, I learned it in the relationships course. So he calls me up. He's like, hey, when's your next relationships course? I said, well, it's down the road. And he goes, I can't wait that long. Can I hire you? Yeah, sure, of course. So we spend a few hours together, and eventually he gets pretty good at the skill. It's like, okay, good, that's fantastic. So he goes to the meeting, got 5 agents, and he keeps using the skill. So let me see if I'm hearing you right. You're not interested in this, and you are interested in that. And he keeps melting them. And he called me that night. He was so upset. He said within an hour, they were saying things like, Bert, the law is this. Okay? Now, the way you could get around the law is you could do this and this and this and this and that. They were literally teaching him how to get around their own law. And when it was over, 2 of them went up to him and said, Bert, have you ever considered running for office? Because they had never experienced this before. Now, today that machine is saving hundreds of babies' lives every year. And say it again? Yeah. 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 And my favorite part of the story is that my brother's baby was born so far premature that they gave her 1,001 chance to live. And that machine helped save her life. It's called karma. Now, when you look through the eyes of Christ-like love, you come to realize that there is absolutely nothing wrong with us. There really are ultimately no hang-ups. Everything that people judge themselves or criticize themselves, all the defenses, all the patterns, all the non-working alienating behaviors, whatever they have, anxiety, depression, being overweight, it doesn't matter. Anything that we call hang-ups, in reality, is a great gift, strength, or talent that got blunted as a child, and that energy had to go in the opposite direction. And that's what we call hang-ups. In the book I'm finishing up right now, it talks about the specific strengths, gifts, and talents for all of those things. What's the gift behind depression? What's the gift behind anxiety? What's the gift behind whatever? Worry. So, when you look through the eyes of Christ-like love, you come to realize that all of the pain and suffering that we bravely endure and deal with in this life, in reality, is love. That you are so much more than you have the power to imagine. That you are magnificence beyond imagination. That you are, as my sister would say, a masterpiece. And in daily life, it's really challenging to actually remember that or know that, or, But the beautiful thing is that now on the planet, there are technologies, there are personal development or transformational tools and technologies that give people the chance to actually experience that reality deeply and fully and profoundly. And in our different courses, whenever they experience that, I remember in my first awakening when I had what we call a breakthrough, I was lifted, and it felt like I was on an elevator in my consciousness, and I went higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And this little voice said, top floor. And in that moment, I actually knew exactly who I was. I saw who I really am, my divinity. And in that moment, I couldn't have stopped crying. My first thought was, thank you. My second thought was, please don't ever leave me. And my third thought was, wow, if I could share this with people. Wow. So that was the day I became a facilitator. So I want to talk about the art of manifestation. Your consciousness is like the tip of an iceberg. And the part of you that actually creates your daily life and creates your reality and creates your circumstances is the part of the iceberg that is below the surface. The biggest part of you. Now, there are actually tools now that can tap the power of the subconscious in order to redesign your life. Because your reality is created exactly by what you say is so. Your life is so because you say it is so, but not consciously, subconsciously. You are perfectly designed right now to get the results you are now getting. If you want to get different results, you have to redesign your pictures and your thoughts and your feelings. And the good news is that that's completely available now. There are such powerful tools to do what we call reprogramming, to reprogram all those pictures, thoughts, and feelings, to give yourself a whole new level. I'm going to use one example. When I was, I've been, for over 40 years, I've been around the world, and I've done everything I could get my hands on in my field, NLP and hypnosis and Gestalt therapy and primal therapy and, everything, Native American stuff. And when I was assisting at the S workshops, they put me in the communication department because of my background. And they put me on the phones, and there were like 5 phones. And the facilitator came to me and said, Gary, what are you working on these days? What's your goal? What do you want to gain? And I said, well, I'm really working on being more centered, more grounded, more present, more in my body. He said, okay, good, terrific. Now, what is a fear that you have about your job? And I said, well, I see 5 phones in front of me. If they come in one at a time, I'll be fine, but I'm a little nervous. What if like 3 or 4 or 5 line up all at the same time? I said, okay, good, I got it. He said, let me tell you what you just told me. What you just told me is that when you're centered, the phones will ring all at one at a time. But when you start to get speeded up and get uncentered, the phones are going to ring up all at the same time. And I was like, wait a minute. What do I possibly have to do with people calling from Kansas? I'm not controlling them. He just smiled. He said, just watch. And for the next 5 days, I could not believe it. Every time I start to get off center, slow down. So Einstein said, the law of nature states that everything has a vibration. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Sound is also a vibration, and so are thoughts. Everything that manifests itself in your life is there because it matches the vibration of your thoughts. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. So remember, What happened to me in that example is happening to you every moment of your life. Everything you attract, positive or negative, actually comes to you through your presence. The way you stand, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you think, your thoughts, your come from, your attitude, all of that is what draws to you positive or negative. Now, in the movie The Secret, how many of you have seen the movie The Secret? Raise your hand. It got really popular, so I'm glad a lot of you have seen it. Something that they don't teach you that we do in our courses, they don't teach you that in the physical realm, you simply cannot manifest any dream, vision, or goal by holding it in your thoughts. Physically, it cannot manifest. You have to hold that dream, vision, or goal as a direct experience, which most people don't know what that looks like. So we play a game we call the Genie Game. In some of my courses, I teach people how to do it. And we teach them how to imagine the genie says, what do you want? And then they imagine for the next 5, 10 years, if they could have it all, if anything was possible, what they would really like the most. And then we facilitate them to talk about it so specifically. More specific, because the more specific they get about that dream or vision, the more it goes from here to here. And eventually, they have what we call a clunk. It's really obvious when they do, too. It's a direct experience of that dream or vision. That is the instant that that dream or vision will now begin to unfold. And remember, until they have a direct experience, it is physiologically impossible. Now, in our workshop, the Success in Relationships course, we after the group gets going along and we do all these processes to get them safer and safer and safer and safer, and when the group gets really, really safe, then I bring up a couple in front of the room. I said, volunteer if you want to, and some really lucky couple gets to come up and demonstrate a skill called conversation for getting through. It's a revolutionary set of skills that makes it so people can actually get through to their partner on any topic, even the scariest of issues, scariest of topics, and have it happen in a win-win way. So we bring a couple up to the front of the room, and I love it because for the first 5, 10 minutes, I let them try to do it themselves, just so the audience can have a good laugh. Everybody goes, that's me. That's how I do it. I didn't say that. So then I give them some skills. And we teach them how to do what's called coaching communication. We teach them how to clarify, what you're hearing is this, but that's not what I mean. What I mean to say is this. And when they finally get the message that their partner's trying to say, when they take the insult out of it, and they finally hear what their partner's trying to say, then they coach each other on how to say it. Now, could you please coach me on how to say what I'm trying to say so that you can hear it? And then the person coaches them. Well, the way I'd like to hear it is I'd like to hear you say, Gary, love of my life, sweetheart, beautiful boy, And then their message, and then ending with something really sweet, and then they can hear it. And it's really fascinating because in communication, every single word is a reality. So typically couples think if they just say, look, honey, I just want you to be a little more committed to blah, 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 blah. And when she says the word committed, she gets a vision in her mind's eye of us having a picnic on a sunny day and the birds are flying by. He hears the word commitment. He goes right into a visual of chains and dungeons and traps, Every word is a reality. I'll never forget one couple was in front of the room, and he coached her how to say it. She said it almost perfectly, but I could see his little combination lock of his heart was not open. Because it's just like a combination lock. 13 to the left, 5 to the right. You get off by one word, the heart doesn't open. So I said, which what word or set of words was she off by? He goes, change the word it. 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 She changed the word it and his face like that. By one little word. So what's really beautiful is that you take an issue that a couple's been fighting about for 10, 15 years, and like most couples, they've sank into that no man's land where they just basically have this unwritten contract. We won't talk about the really important stuff. We'll just talk about the weather and fishing and now it's basically a dead relationship, which is really common. And you take this couple and you let them have this communication, and by the time it's over, they are in tears, they're touched, they're moved, they've got new hope, relationship could blossom. It's beautiful to watch. And then people realize, oh my goodness, I could have that in my relationship. We'll be here for days. So, when you look through the eyes of Christ-like love, you realize that what you can be, what you can do, what you can have in your lifetime will greatly depend on one key ability, the ability to influence. So I'm going to give you a little taste of what I consider to be the greatest key to influence, is to recognize and to speak to someone's highest nobility. The ability to look beyond their personality flaws, their shortcomings, their hang-ups, their mistakes, their failures, and to perceive their best, highest, and most noble self. And speak to that. So I'm going to do one or two demos maybe. Make sure you let me have time for the meditation at the end. So raise your hand if you want to volunteer to hear me give you what we call a higher self reading, and to tell you what is your highest and most noble self. Okay? Raise your hand. Get them up high. Get them up high. Okay. Get them up high. Okay. First, I'll do this man here, and then the lady in the back, in the black. Yeah. Good. Okay. So, tell me your name. John. John. Okay. John, by the way, I want you to know that in the workshop this afternoon, I'll teach you a little bit about how to do this. Because when I teach my leaders, my facilitators, I teach them how to basically be able to listen when someone talks about their project, and how to know whether that project is headed for good news, like blessings, or whether it's headed for bad news, which we call lessons. And I think you all probably have heard this before, that life is so kind that if you don't learn the lesson this time, it will deliver it again and again and again. It just turns up the juice a little more each time until you get the lesson or die, whichever comes first. Okay. So, John, let's see. You're what I call a spiritual warrior. You have like a direct connection to spirit. And you also have access to ancient wisdom. Like from the time you were a kid, you knew, but you didn't know how you knew, you just knew. A lot of intuitive gifts. I get that you're, in the last few years, you've been building up strength, and in the next few years, you've got the ability to actually tap into a lot more intuitive gifts. They're like blossoms. about to jump off a cliff, and it's going to make the life you've known so far actually look like small potatoes. You have a beautiful heart, a deep heart, deeply feeling, which as a kid was kind of a double-edged sword. You couldn't believe how callous people were. Is there alcoholism in the family? It goes back generation. In the next few years, as you learn to risk the pain of love, you'll know a love in your life that is deeper and bigger and more beautiful than anything you've ever imagined. You just have to risk the pain of love. Acknowledging. You can just stand up right there. Actually, go ahead, come up front because it'd be good if they can see you. Stand right here. Tell me your name.
Peggy.
Peggy. Okay, Peggy. Your spirit is so bright, so alive, so vitality and enthusiasm and passion, excitement. On a spiritual level, it's a little bit like, you know those lights that go up in the sky when they have a new movie at the theater, right? Only it's pointed right at me. I mean, it's like, and you're incredibly sensitive, which makes you very intuitive. Like him, you have a direct connection to spirit. Although I can see that at various times in your life, when times got hard, you were pretty angry at God. And there's a bit of a rebellious streak in you, kind of an impish, let's look for some rules so we can break them kind of spirit. And you have a very pure heart. You desire more than most people to be good, and to live in the light. And it wouldn't surprise me if you're the kind of person that brings home the stray dog, Mommy, can I keep him? That kind of thing. Because part of your message to the world is everyone is welcome at my table. Acknowledge it. By the way, you have the ability in the next years to be a phenomenal healer, facilitator. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to turn to somebody sitting next to you, and I'd like you to try what I just did. Look at their best self and take some wild guesses. You look like you might be intelligent. You look like you might be, whatever, okay? Turn to a partner and see if you can just give them a little bit of a higher self reading. What's their best, highest, most noble self? Go. Do that now.
I know that when you walk in, I felt I'm not sure why. You walked in and was like, oh, yeah, I can do this. Do this today. And you're
If you haven't switched, go ahead and switch partners so that both of you get a chance.
carry yourself.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, wrap it up. I'm going to do a very short meditation with you. Go ahead and uncross your arms and your legs so the energy can flow properly. Sit up straight but not stiff. Visualize your favorite color of light going into the top of your head, relaxing your body, and then send it down through the earth. Have the center of the earth send the same color of light up from the middle of the earth and connect with your cord of light. I want you to imagine that if you keep growing, you let yourself have the courage to face your fears. Over the next 5 years, what blessings are you hoping to bring yourself in your love life? With each item that you identify, just raise a hand or a finger and put it back down again so I can see how the room feels. What blessings are you hoping to bring yourself in your love life over the next 5 years? How about in your money or success over the next 5 years? What blessings are you hoping to bring yourself in your money or your success or your career? Now go to the next 10 years. What blessings are you hoping to bring yourself in your love life or your money or your success over the next 10 years? If a genie or a spiritual guide could take away any barrier within you instantly, any doubts and fears, any non-working behaviors or patterns, what would you ask the genie or spiritual guide to take away from you? What barriers would you have them eliminate that are within you? What is between you and igniting your full self-expression, your visions, and a whole new level of blessing? With each item you identify, just raise a hand or a finger and put it back down again so I know how to use it. Good. At your own pace, just allow yourself to come back to the room. Okay, if we can have the lights on again. Now, as a thank you, I want you to know that anybody who attends the course today at 12:30 from 12:30 to 3, we're going to give some really good giveaways. Like a few of you who attend that course are going to get Success in Relationships course that's valued at $500. You're going to get it for free if you can attend and complete the whole course. And everybody who attends is going to get a very special certificate, which will be a huge discount. And at the very least, if you want to, what you can do is sign up at the back of the room for the 20 to 30 free videos, which are 3 to 7 minute videos that you get every few days, which captures some of the highlights of my different workshops. So at the very least, even if you can't attend the workshop, go ahead and sign up for those, because they're free and you'll love them. Okay? Thank you very much for having me here.
It is now time for our love offering. So if you would
$15. If anybody can't afford that, just put in what you can, because money is not a reason to not do it.
We thank thee for these tithes and offerings. We know that we are both due and receiver. These tithes and offerings come to you to do its most perfect work. Thank you, God.
Announcement today, youth one. John's standing up in the back cheering. So today, as Gary mentioned, we have his workshop starts at 12:30. Now last week, where people said, why we started so early? And remember, we start church earlier, so it's really you got about an hour to go get some lunch or whatever, and come back and enjoy. And church can be awesome. All his work is incredible. We also are continuing to gather food for the food bank. This is an important time of year to really do that. So remember, don't forget like I do, and grab that stuff that you bought at the store that's extra and throw it in a car and come to church and put it in the barrel at the back. We also recycle and reuse our bulletins, so just put them in the basket on the back table. And prayer team. Looks like, who's here from the prayer team besides me? So if you have a prayer, come to me today. I'll find someone else to fill in if we need. So if you have desire for prayer immediately after service, you can come to me. We'll set that up. And you can also fill out the prayer request form in your bulletin. And that's all we have today.
Daily word.
Huh? Daily word. Gary wants some 7 people for the daily word. Gary, raise your hand. We might have some new people that want to join you today and be reading for the daily word. That will be live stream, or not live stream, but on the YouTube, network.
All this week.
Talk to Gary. If you want to pick a day, you can do the daily word. Let's welcome in our children. I know we have one today. Taking a break.
Please circle around.
I believe there are angels among us, sent down to us from somewhere up above. They come to you and me in our darkest hours. Show us how to live, teach us how to give, guide us with the light of God. So enthusiastically we move forward knowing the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us, the joy of God laughs through us, the abundance of God is us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Thank you, God.
Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together in love. Peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is my family, in perfect harmony. Yes, please begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment with peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Have a great week, everybody. God bless you.